Hi guys, so Christine Mann here, and yesterday I actually talked about some steps and things you can do to combat depression, seasonal affective disorder, the winter blues, and I'm kind of doing things backwards on here. I'll learn eventually. I should have done this post first and told you my story and then told you the tips. Anyways, that's just me. So today you're going to learn a little bit about my story of my struggle with depression and where I'm at now. So depression is something that so many people struggle with. And a person doesn't have to look sad to be depressed. I can walk around with a huge smile on my face and literally be dying inside with that feeling of hopelessness and a feeling of there's really no point in living. And you know what? I just have to say straight off the bat, because I know a lot of people that would be like, well, you're just being negative, you're being unthankful, you're not content, you're not trusting God. And right off the bat here, that's not it. Because I have been in some of the best places spiritually in my life and still struggled with this. And so before you judge someone for feeling these feelings, try and understand a little bit about what might be going on. So that's why I'm doing these videos. There's actually a chemical imbalance that can happen in your brain. And I know a lot of people take meds that really helps this, and I'm not saying not to do that. But in my case, my depression came on mostly during the winter. So my summers and spring even is a little more difficult. But then once summer came, it's like I felt like a completely different person. And I didn't do anything different. It's not like all of a sudden I started to trust God, or all of a sudden I started to eat healthier through the whole months of summer. It's that there's something that happens physiologically in your body that changes what happens with the way that you think and how you feel about yourself and the day. And so I struggled with this for a long time. And some days my husband would come home and I'd be sitting at the kitchen table, supper's not ready, and I'm just crying. And I can't even tell him why, because I don't know. I don't know what's happening in my body. And he's so sweet, and he's like, oh, I must have done something to make it worse. What can I do? I'm so sorry. And he's such a sweetheart. And it's not him. It's nobody's fault. There's nothing that you can blame it on. There's an imbalance going on in your mind. And so after Asia died, I got to the point where I really did not want to live anymore. And I'm not saying I was like planning on killing myself. Don't freak out. But I remember having this conversation with my husband where I was just this feeling of pointlessness to life in general. Why bother getting out of bed in the morning? And it's not because anything was wrong. And I mean, obviously there's grief, but that's not enough to make you want to not live, right? So I remember my husband saying to me, Christine, this isn't actually normal, and I think maybe you need to see a doctor. So I went to the doctor and I said, this is happening, and I started crying. Currently I have an amazing doctor, by the way. And he just listened to me and said, what's going on? What's been any changes recently? Let's talk. And we went through everything, and he said, with everything going on, he said, I can see why you're struggling. He said, I can give you antidepressants. I can put you on something if that's what you really want, but let's talk first. Let's try a few things first. Let's see if we can't work through this in a more natural way. And then, of course, we will put you on something. So I wasn't suicidal, or he probably would have insisted, right? I got a good doctor now, thankfully. Okay, so, I better check my notes. I'm going to ramble on forever. Okay, seasonal affective disorder is also called SAD, and you'll see some of the initials I put in my posts today and yesterday. And it doesn't mean that you're sad, as in, I'm sad. It means seasonal affective disorder. And for a while, I would do tanning. And I would even go to a tanning bed. And oh my gosh, I know, for all of you who are going to comment, I know there's a risk of cancer. But this is the thing. When you actually feel like your life is over, a little tan is not the end of the world. And it's not all year long. It's temporary. And for me, it was something that I just needed to do. And so I would go and I would have a 3-minute tan 3 or 4 days a week. And I would come home and be a completely different person. It would be like it's summer. But it only lasts for a few hours. And then what? Then what are you supposed to do for the rest of the time? You can't just live in a tanning bed. I realize that. So I started to try some different things. And some of the tips I gave yesterday are the things that have helped a little bit. But I think the biggest thing was really pouring into my relationship with God and really actually taking time to process what was going on in my life and not just living in a state of denial where that's too hard, I'm not going to think about it. Anything that would come into my mind, that's too hard, I'm just going to ignore it. And so I started journaling and praying and really seeking God's presence, that he would just help me in processing it. And the next time I went to see the doctor and he asked me how I was doing, and I was like, you know what? I'm so much better. And God really, during that time, was such a huge, huge part of my life, and still is. And I'm so thankful for that. It is something that I am working on, though, is consistency. Again, like I was talking about before, balance. Consistency is something that I'm always needing to work on, to make sure that I make time in my day for the most important things. And my relationship with God is definitely falls into that. Okay, so my struggle in that area didn't end in just feeling like I shouldn't be alive. My struggle took me on a journey. And so I got myself on some natural progesterone, and that made a difference. It helped with the anxiety. It didn't take away all the depression, but it did help with the anxiety. We went to Hawaii a couple times even. Tim was like, we just got to get you out of Dawson. We just got to go somewhere so that you can have some sun. And honestly, it felt awesome while we were there. And I did feel like a normal summertime Christine during our visits in Hawaii. But then as soon as I get home, it just started to wane within a few days. So that's not a possible way of treating seasonal affective disorder or depression. Chocolate. Oh my goodness. Okay, so when I have chocolate, if I have chocolate today, well, actually I did have chocolate today. Oh. So usually what happens is in like 2 days, maybe 3 days, all of a sudden I'll be like, I don't like life anymore. And Tim will come home and be like, oh dear. He knows me well enough to know by now, so I really do need to stay away from the chocolate. I know it's not good for me. But I think right now I am having a winter unlike one I've had in as long as I can remember. So I'm taking a probiotic right now that heals your gut lining, that balances the bacteria that supports your mood hormones like serotonin, and I am telling you what a difference. I mean, I feel like I can clean the house. Like, that's, for those of you that struggle with depression, you'll understand. That's a big deal. Like when you struggle with depression and that feeling of hopelessness, it's really hard to work up the motivation to do those things that need to be done in your house. And so all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I want to decorate. Ooh, I should get out my Christmas stuff. And ooh, I could, I'm doing videos every day. So I'm super thankful for this probiotic that I've been on, and I know that it is working without a doubt, and I can see it already. It doesn't take months for me to notice the difference that this is making in my body. So I'm super thankful for that. So that's my story, and send me a message if you want to know more. If you want to know about the probiotic that I'm on, please leave me a comment with some like and love, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the sunshine.